All right, we are finally back, folks, after about a 3 week long absence here on Sports Talk. It is Sports Talk, yes. We are back officially live. It is Mr. Jim along with the Star Lord, Chris Pratt. My goodness, it has been a while. I apologize to everybody. Serious equipment issues resulted in this being delayed at this point, but I think we are good to go on this end. Again, this is Mr. Jim with the Star Lord Chris Pratt. We are brought to you tonight again by Prepcast. Watch it now or watch it later. They've got a whole bunch of things going on right now. Football season, a little bit of soccer action, hockey will be picking up here soon. So we have again, we missed everybody. I apologize. I had a mixer, Chris, go out on me, and I have had to replace this thing. I've got a brand new mixer, and it's been getting used to all the controls on this thing. But I think we are finally good to go. Charlotte, how are you tonight, Chris?
The NFL ranks, and we're just seeing how the Major League playoffs are going to shape up. I mean, I think we know who's going to be in. No real surprises, but there might be some for those final wild card spots. We'll just have to wait to see how the last week and a half, all shapes up.
Chris, I was absolutely shocked. I was just absolutely shocked that at my 101 ESPN update this morning on the way to work, Cardinals 3.5 out and 5 games to go. 3.5 out, 5 games to go. How is this possible, my friend? How is this possible?
Well, they're on one of their surges right now. You're getting quality starts from McGreevy. Sonny Gray has looked good. I was actually at the game on Friday, and outside of one pitch that left the park, he pitched a very good game. He got strikeouts. The Cardinals, their offense is coming through now, and not just the top of the order, but you're getting contributions from, it's like they were playing earlier in the year. You're getting contributions from everybody when it matters. And when they're getting a lead, they're not surrendering the leads. This is what kept us enthused in the first part of the season before the pitching finally, had the meltdown where they just weren't getting quality starts. But, the team can be competitive as long as you get a quality start out of the starting rotation. The bullpen was getting overused, and it was obvious because, they were shelling the relievers as well. So, again, and this is what's frustrating, is that with the Cardinals, in my mind, they're only a couple of pieces away, primarily a true number one starter and probably another, quality starting pitcher. And then they are a competitive team. I would like to see them get a power hitting outfielder, and to show, to eliminate some of this logjam in the outfield and some of these guys who have potential and show potential from time to time, but don't have that quality season of a 30 home run guy who's going to hit 280, 290. You have, Lars Nootbaar, who hits well at times, but then he's going to leave people on. He's going to strike out a lot. He's not going to give you those good quality at bats. Jordan Walker, as much as I'd like to see this guy just put everything together, I just don't know. Victor Scott, you can't have a center fielder who's batting under 220. I think he's batting like 213. The Cardinals you can't have those holes in your lineup. You can't have, and again, I know it seems like we beat up on him all the time, but you can't have a Nolan Gorman out there who, yes, in his, second year hit 30 home runs, but if he's striking out and only a ton and only batting 220 or less, that's a hole in your lineup. You have to fix those detriments and look back to the Cardinals teams that were the first place in the National League Central or playoff caliber teams. They didn't have those glaring issues. They had the quality starters. So I think, like I said, they're a couple pieces away, but them talking about trading off Brendan Donovan. I don't understand what that guy's done to deserve talk of him being traded. He's been your most reliable hitter in the lineup, and he gives you Gold Glove defense no matter almost everywhere he plays, and he's so versatile. But I understand they want to give that rookie whose name is escaping me right now.
Position player or pitcher?
The position player, the guy that's been making all the noise, that the shortstop.
Oh, down to the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know they want him to have a spot, but here's the thing that bugs me. Weatherholt,
Yeah.
JJ Weatherholt.
Yes, sir.
So he's a natural shortstop. Okay. But the Cardinals' experiments with taking people out of their natural position and moving them to another position, it hasn't worked well in the past. You're not going to move Mason Wynn. He should be the Gold Glove winning shortstop in the National League, and it shouldn't even be a close vote. Now, whether he gets it or not, I don't know. But you're not going to take Mason Wynn out of short. But to me, if you're going to put Weatherholt anywhere, put him at third. If you're looking to trade Arenado, although I don't know, the only way the Cardinals trade Arenado is if they eat his salary, because no one's going to take his salary based on his production this year.
Chris, apparently on Sunday they had they said farewell to Miles Michaelis, and they apparently said farewell to Nolan Arenado. At this point on Sunday, there was a farewell ceremony. So I would think the Cardinals in the offseason will have no choice but to try to make that happen, since they did have a thank you for all you've done, Nolan. We'll see you.
Well, right,
it was nice.
What major league team, with his current stats, 10 home runs, around 50 some odd RBIs, but he's batting I think he's batting 234.
Yeah, it's not good.
At his salary level, who's going to take that on?
Probably not going to be an easy task.
Right. The Cardinals are going to have to eat that salary or throw him in with a guy who gets more, I just mentioned him, the outfielder.
Walker?
Lars Nootbaar. No,
Lars Nootbaar.
Who a lot of people are
the
high
Newt.
on him. I don't quite understand why everybody is so big on him, because again, there's no consistency there.
I would agree. I lost control of that several months ago. I would agree with you. The one thing that I'm still watching right now, obviously the development of Michael McGreevy, and also Burleson, Alec Burleson, still an outside shot at the Major League batting title. Still, I think he's raised his average to 292. That's 12 points out of the lead. Probably close.
Saying that the league leader's 302? Sure,
that's 10 points out. That's 10
right.
That's 10 points out.
He just has to get the at bats, and like I said,
he will.
As long as he's in the lineup, he's got a shot. And in my mind, Burleson is one of your outfielders.
No, there's no question.
Right, because he's got one of the highest batting average, if not the highest batting average on the team. He's got power, and just think what he could do if he had protection in the lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Chris, we want to get off this. I hadn't really planned on opening with the Cardinals, but that's perfectly okay. I want to quickly get a promo in for Kim Hamilton and Off the Hook Embroidery. Kim Hamilton, Chris, just about a week ago, shockingly enough, sent me through the ball caps that I had ordered through him, and the guy is just absolutely awesome. I've been pushing him on the air, but he sent a round of ball caps. He got his machine up and working. He's at 1-443-226-1206. It's Off the Hook, LLC.com. Over 300 brands of cigars in stock that this man carries. His wife is also a fellow cigar smoker as well. Nobody knows more about cigars than Mr. Kim Hamilton. I just want to give a big shout out to Kim. I didn't expect the caps when I got them. They were dropped on me last Saturday, and for that, Kim, sir, I appreciate you dropping off the caps. Chris, I want to do an immediate 360. Cardinals have 5 games left. 3.5 out. Okay, that's fantastic. Let's talk about college football right now, Chris. It's been a few weeks, and I want to get something off of my chest. I look at this Missouri schedule, Chris. Were you as shocked as I was that Missouri had opens, sir, with six home games in a row? This is
No.
madness.
Well, when we all saw the schedule, I mean, I know when I saw it, I was like, why did college football allow this to happen? Because it's unheard of. I think watching the Mizzou game Saturday, I think they said the last time this happened was sometime in the 80s. So we're talking 40 years ago potentially. Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, not that, from the standpoint, is it going to benefit Mizzou? Sure, they've got the longest home winning streak, I think, in college football, at least in the SEC. But I mean, there's always going to be those that are going to immediately say, "Oh, well, unfair advantage" and things like that. But it's out of their hands. I mean, it was college football that made the schedules. But yeah, I was kind of shocked when I saw it as well. I was like, nobody should be able to start out with that extreme home field advantage.
So you get this situation. You get this home field advantage. And Chris, I've had this on my mind now for 2 weeks. You basically, sir, have got to run the gauntlet. You've got to run your schedule undefeated. Granted, you get 6 home games in a row, and I would assume, Chris, the athletic director, has 80% to do with this custom-made schedule. Chris, I'm only seeing, am I right on this? It's like 3 road games? 3 road games. Or 4, maybe 4. I looked at the schedule this morning.
It's a 12 schedule, yeah.
12 schedule, and you've already got 6 at home, or at least the first 6 at home, and you're still home for more. This is like a 9 home and 3 road schedule. You're going to have to run the gauntlet. You're going to have to beat Oklahoma. You're going to have to beat your Texas A&Ms. Vanderbilt's a dangerous game. Vanderbilt's playing over and above. They've got a good team. What gives here?
Well, so looking at it, we've handled our business thus far. We have UMass at home, Alabama at home. Then we go on the road to Auburn and Vanderbilt. We play Texas A&M at home.
Yep.
We play Mississippi State at home. Then Missouri, we're at Oklahoma and at Arkansas to finish the year.
Correct.
So yeah, you look at that, especially that Oklahoma game where you're going to be in hostile territory against one of the better teams in college football. That's going to be rough. And I say playing any team in their home stadium in the SEC is going to be tough. Whether Mississippi State and Arkansas are ranked or not, you're still going into hostile territory. A&M is never a slouch. Vanderbilt is a scary team. They have just been improving. And, their number 18 ranking is for real. Auburn I'm not as concerned with because Auburn is just, they're having down years in college football. Honestly, I think the test for Mizzou is going to be in 2 weeks when they play Alabama.
At home.
If they can get past Alabama, or at least not get blown out by Alabama, Mizzou's on the map. But if they get blown out again, it's going to be another situation where it's all going to depend on how they do. If that's their only loss, okay, that's going to be, you can justify them still being in the top 10 or top 15 with one loss, especially to an Alabama. But like I said, then you still have to get through A&M. You still have to get through Oklahoma. So, but with the thing that surprises me with Mizzou, they start off looking a little rough, where that defense is porous. They give up points.
Yep.
They give up some dumb penalties. But then all of a sudden, they flip a switch. And then they're not letting anything through.
They stepped it up in the second half. They absolutely did. Kept the pressure on the South Carolina quarterback. There was one particular play, Chris, you may have seen it first half, where I guess second quarter, Missouri secondary leaves a man wide open at what was it, the 6 or the 5 yard line. The pass coming from the South Carolina quarterback, who I believe is Sellers. Is that right? Is it
Yeah,
Sellers?
he was going to be a potential Heisman favorite.
Yeah.
I think I think the way he's played thus far is going to eliminate that potential.
It was this close to being complete, and it would have been a touchdown. There wasn't a Missouri secondary defender within, can we say, 12 yards
Oh yeah,
of that play at this point, and it was this close to being completed. And then Missouri, as you said, in the second half, tightens things up. They win this game. But again, Chris, I put myself in the same position. Your athletic director, I don't know if this is the case, but your athletic director, sir, sets up a 6 at home game schedule. The only plausible way, Chris Pratt, that I see Missouri getting into this bowl playoff picture, sir, is to run this gauntlet at the end of the season. You're going to have to go undefeated to get a prime spot in the BCS because you put yourself in a vulnerable position. You scheduled 6 home games in a row.
And that could very well be. Mizzou, since they've left the Big 12, they haven't really been considered a football powerhouse, and I think that's largely due to the competition that we're playing. Whereas in the Big 12, it was basically us and Oklahoma. Kansas really wasn't much of a team to speak of. Texas was up and down. It was always, Mizzou, Oklahoma. Now you've got, we're compared against Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and even now Vanderbilt. We're compared to everybody in the SEC. And that's unfortunate to a certain extent because you look at what Mizzou's been able to do. They have, I think they said, the 5th best record over the past 5 years in FCBS.
Yep.
So, for Mizzou to come into this year not ranked in the top 25, I think is a little ridiculous because we've been a bowl game winner the last 3 years.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we graduated Brady Cook.
Yep.
But, the transfer portal, okay, we've got quarterbacks now, so it's not like we've got a true freshman starting as a quarterback. And I just think that, to a certain extent, we're going to be, no matter what our schedule is, the 6 home games or not, we're never going to be taken seriously until we have that one loss season or that perfect season. I just don't see that, the people who rank college teams. I mean, for example, like right now, Notre Dame, I think, is still ranked ahead of us, if they're still ranked.
Barely.
Yeah. But why is Notre Dame hasn't played anybody, and the team they lost to was, Tennessee gets beat. Texas is the one-loss team that I understand because they lost to Ohio State. You're not going to take anything away from Texas on that loss. But to me, it's like, look, if you've got a team that's undefeated and at 4-0, and we've played 2 quality opponents in Kansas and now South Carolina, why aren't we rated in the top 10? And why aren't the one-loss teams rated in the teens?
I'll take the 20th. I know we're ranked 20th right now. Based upon, again, this home schedule that was set up, Chris, I'll take my 20th at this point. UMass victory won't move you up at all. It may drop you a spot. It may drop you down to 21. Then you got Alabama coming in. Chris, that to me, based upon the way Alabama's playing right now, this should be a winnable game. Mizzou should be favored by a point going into this game at home against the Crimson Tide. They aren't what they've been in past years. Do you see any reason, Chris Pratt, that Missouri can't beat Oklahoma at home? Or, I'm sorry, Alabama at home. My apologies.
No. I mean, our run game, until somebody can stop our run game, no. Because that sets up, you can't, I mean, even South Carolina was stacking the box, and we were still getting through. Missouri's offensive line is very good. Our
Yes, it
running
is.
back, I mean, I have, watching Cody Schrader last year, I enjoyed watching him run. Our running back right now is just fun to watch because he will hit people. He reminds me of the old running backs like an Earl Campbell, but he doesn't have the size of an Earl Campbell. But he goes through and he will hit people, and he will just wait to be hit because he lowers his center of gravity and he shrugs it off, and he just keeps going. Until somebody can find a way to stop Mizzou's run game, that's going to set up our pass, and we've got very talented receivers. And as long as our defense, plays that bend but don't break, yes, we can beat Alabama because Alabama's kind of in a flux right now. They're not that dominant team as they once were under Saban. I think the Mizzou-Alabama game should not be a blowout, but the only way I see it being a blowout is either Alabama takes us for granted or Mizzou psychs themselves out.
Which has happened in the past.
Right.
You've got a Bo Prabula, who has shown that he is the right choice for this year. It's unfortunate that Sam Horn's career is over in college. Maybe he's got a baseball career waiting for him. Chris, if I'm not mistaken, he's not a redshirt. He does not have any eligibility after this season. So I'm assuming for Sam Horn with a season-ending injury, it's probably baseball. Baseball for him,
Yeah.
Is that how you see it?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately missing time and not really having any significant time as the primary quarterback. It's unfortunate for him, but that's the price all athletes pay. At any point you can be injured, and it can destroy a career or a budding career. Obviously these college athletes are not professionals. They're still vying for spots, on NFL rosters. Unless if he really wants it, works himself back and then gets invited to a practice squad and impresses people, but that'd be his only way. And that's such an uphill battle that if he is, and I can't say I know much about Sam Horn, if he
I know
does
very
have,
little about Sam Horn.
right, but if he does have, if he is a baseball player as well, and he has a spot on Mizzou's baseball team, then yeah, I think he should focus on that and see where it goes. But again, it's all going to depend on where his heart is, whether it's football or baseball.
I think Bo Prabula has what it takes. I think he has what it takes to get Missouri through this schedule. Chris Pratt, I like Missouri's chances to run this schedule or finish the season with one loss. Does this schedule, Chris Pratt, get Missouri a solid spot in that BCS if they just have the one loss? And let's assume they go down to either Oklahoma or they go down to Texas A&M. They beat Bama by 10. I'm just going to make a guess here. They beat Bama by 10 at home, and then may lose that one game to the A&M or to Oklahoma, finish the season with one loss. Is that enough with that soft schedule to get Missouri into a prime position in the bowl championship series?
Well, I would think it would be, because what team truly has a tough schedule?
Yeah.
Everybody has their fair of, cookie cutter games. So, the conference games, it's not Mizzou's, it's a scheduling, but it's not Mizzou's fault that they're in the SEC West this year, not the SEC East.
I didn't know that. But I do know this morning, Chris, and not to cut you off, I do know this morning and listen to 101, Missouri, apparently the SEC had a press conference to announce that Missouri's two opponents over the coming years, their two common opponents every year, sir, will be Texas A&M and Oklahoma. They are guaranteed both of those teams moving forward every year.
I think that's good for college football because they played both of them in the Big 12. So there is that history there. I was happy to see them revive the Border Wars against Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was a meaningful game. Even though we're not in the same conference, you could tell both, neither team wanted to lose to each other. And, rivalry games like that matter, and having teams that you have a history with. We don't have a history with Alabama. We don't have a history with Georgia. So I have no issues with that because it's still putting two quality teams on our schedule every year in A&M and Oklahoma. So yeah, I mean, and if you're looking for viability, if you're able to hang and beat A&M and you're able to hang and beat with Oklahoma, those are two opponents that you can't ignore when we beat them. And if we beat them, I mean, I'm with you. I think this Mizzou team is a very talented team.
Yes.
We've got pass rushers. We've got fundamentally sound linebackers and D-backs. Yes, they do make some mistakes.
Yes, they do.
That's going to happen. It's just a byproduct of the game. But like I said, they're that team that can flip that switch. If they see that they're making stupid penalties, like either an offsides or a pass interference, you're not seeing that same player getting flagged throughout the game like you did with South Carolina. How many false starts did they have on offense?
Oh, it was horrendous.
Right. So you had the same players making the same mistakes, and you just don't have that on this Mizzou team. You've got a fundamentally sound team. You've got skilled players on offense, and you've got an offensive line that is able to create those holes for that running back. And the running back, once he's free, it's okay, who's going to get him? And how many yards is he going to, how many tackles is he going to break? And who's going to finally be able to get him down and after how many yards? It's really fun to watch him run because, but that's just Mizzou has been cranking out quality running back after quality running back the last several years.
The word coming out of Missouri was that Eli Drinkwitz was very unhappy with his defensive coordinator. Last week's game, we leave receivers wide open that Sellers just flat missed on passes. I saw Sellers work, Chris, on Saturday night, and I do believe that he has the capabilities of being a Heisman Award winning quarterback. And I do think that Sellers, just based on what I saw in the first half from him, not necessarily in the second half, does have the ability to be a number one drafted quarterback in the NFL. He has the right stuff.
I agree. I just don't think it's this year. This is only his sophomore year.
Is that it? Okay.
He was a true freshman last year. That's why there's so much buzz about him.
Okay.
I agree. He is a very talented quarterback. But I think if he had a little bit more experience under his belt, he doesn't miss that wide open receiver. He doesn't get as flustered when he's under pressure the way he was against Mizzou. That was part of the thing. And I understand the guy was, always scrambling. He didn't have the time. But again, as a sophomore, he's still showing that his game is still a little rough when he's not able to sit back and have the time to execute the plays. I still think he needs to mature a little bit with his train of thought, not be able to handle the pressure because, like I said, that there's a couple throws that he makes and that game doesn't end up being a 10 to 14 point, loss. It comes down to maybe a field goal because he's able to sustain drives longer. He's not giving it over on downs. And that's where I see, his biggest thing is just that he's got some things to work on. But again, he's a 19-year-old sophomore. I mean, what more can you ask of him, given that his offensive line wasn't there and they had absolutely no run game?
I found it interesting last week, Chris Pratt, that listen to 101 and the madness that goes along with this. Missouri's field goal kicker did okay. He did okay on Saturday night. But that last week, Missouri was interested in UCLA's place kicker. That, field goals are kind of important if you're running out of time in a football game and you need a field goal kicker. I didn't quite understand it. I was talking to a family member, one of my residents over at Friendship Village a couple of days ago, and he said, Oh, it's no big deal right now. Missouri could make a deal to bring UCLA's kicker in here with the current NCAA rules to find another field goal kicker at this point. How do you see the field goal kicking situation, Chris Pratt, at Mizzou?
Well, I'm a big believer in putting kids in situations so that they gain the experience and they gain the confidence so that when they're faced with those situations again, they succeed. I think it does irreversible damage if you go out and you replace him. Because if this kid's going to be your field goal kicker for the future, and I believe he's a true freshman.
Yep.
Now's the time that you put him out there and say, okay, we believe in you. You can do this. As they did in the game with South Carolina. He went out there. Yeah, he missed the first point after. It hit the gong off the upright. But he was perfect for the rest of the game. To me, this whole panic and saying, oh, we got to replace, we got to do this. This is college football. This is not the pros. You don't get to, I don't think you should be able to make trades and get players from other teams. To me, these kids are under scholarship, and don't, to me, and this is where, my issues with college football being more of a business than it is a collegiate program. But let the kid gain that confidence and let him go out there and do what you gave him the scholarship to do. And that was to be your place kicker, to go out there with potentially the game on the line and kick the game-winning field goal. Let him do that so that, you have someone, then you don't have that cloud over Missouri next year. You've got a guy who's been there, he's been in those situations, and he can do it.
Chris Pratt, who are the top teams right now in college football, as you see it? Who are the top dogs right now?
Well, I can't argue with the top three they got right now. I believe it's Ohio State, Florida State. Well, I'm going to say, I think Florida State and Miami. I think those are, your team. Georgia, I know, is highly ranked, but Georgia to me hasn't played anybody yet.
Yep.
I'm looking at Georgia like, okay, there's a cream puff schedule, and until Georgia plays somebody, I'm not overly impressed. But the way that, Ohio State, they can graduate in an entire team, and they're going to replenish with, almost the same caliber team, because they're just that, they're that program that can just produce quality player after quality player. That's what,
because it is the Ohio State.
Right. Florida State has been, building back. They haven't been relevant in a while, but they're now a team not to be taken lightly. And Miami is just a very strong team.
They are.
So, I mean, those are the teams that I think are, Penn State. I know they're ranked number 3 right now, but Penn State is one of those, okay, talk to me when you play somebody. LSU, though, is, that dark horse, I think, that I want to see how they handle themselves in the heart, in the heat, the heart of their schedule, when they're facing the Georgias and the other top SEC teams. Because right now, I mean, to me, they're the cream of the crop of the SEC until proven otherwise.
We reach the 34-minute mark of this podcast. Once again, I want to apologize to everybody. We've been off the air for a few weeks. I had a mixer issue. The mixer, which is the base of this podcast, quit on me a couple weeks ago. I had to replace that, make some adjustments. I'm not a technical engineer, Chris. I don't pretend to be, but it took me a little while to get this back up and going, and I appreciate everybody's patience as we had, about a 3-week delay getting back on the air with you. I believe we are okay right now. I believe I've solved all the issues, hopefully, with the mixer and moving forward. And I do appreciate everybody sticking with me at this point. Once again, we are sponsored, Chris, by Prepcast, prepcast.com. Mr. Tim Miller sponsoring the program here, prepcast.com. Watch it now. Watch it later. A ton of high school football going on right now. They also will have soccer. I'm looking forward to the hockey season starting up. Hopefully I'll be involved in some hockey presentations with Prepcast. Hopefully we'll be going back outside Chicago, Chris, in the month of February. Super Bowl weekend to do a Pee Wee hockey tournament. I have kind of been back and forth with Chris, and with Tim anyway, and he's checking with Jimmy over in Chicago to see if we've still got that contract for next year. But Prepcast.com, watch it now, watch it later. It's a beautiful thing, especially If you're following teams like a Fort Zumwalt North, which is a major team on our Prepcast, Greenville College, we have a number of announcers that are covering that as well for Prepcast, but it's prepcast.com. Watch it now or watch it later. Chris Pratt, we have knocked down the Cardinals. Excuse me. We've knocked down the Cardinals. We've knocked down college football. Now it's the NFL. I'm going to lead us off. News today out of New York. New York Giants. Russell Wilson, have a seat. It's 3 games. You're done. Go to the bench. We're going to see what the youngster has to offer. Chris Pratt, NFL in general right now. Teams that are impressing you, teams that are less impressive. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, obviously, after watching last night's game, Detroit is definitely for real.
I agree.
Any team that, they had, not only did they contain Derrick Henry, except for that one touchdown run, Lamar Jackson didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
That leads me into, I think Baltimore's window has closed.
I would agree with that.
I don't think they have offensive line issues. And this has been my belief, and I'll say since Michael Vick. Option quarterbacks are not really viable in the NFL. Now, Lamar, I wouldn't classify him purely as a option quarterback because he does have a good arm and he has an accurate arm. But whenever he's under pressure like he was last night, he doesn't know what to do. He wants to run, but then he sees that I don't have any lanes, and he holds on to the ball and he makes dumb decisions. That loss their loss was due to Detroit's defense just would not allow them breathing room. But it was also because Lamar Jackson, I know everybody puts him in that MVP category and thinks that he's just going to be able to do whatever he wants on the field, and that's just simply not the case. And it goes back to Lamar in the playoffs. When he's playing those upper echelon teams, he's typically the reason why they don't advance. Other teams that are really impressing me right now. I thought Philly and Washington were going to be better than what they were. Philly's defense especially just doesn't impress me. The guy who got suspended, without even in week 1, I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head, but they need to demote him from captain because he just keeps making dumb decisions. He got a 15-yard taunting penalty. The guy just needs to shut his mouth and go out there and play.
Some leader, huh? Some leader.
Tampa Bay is for real.
It appears so.
Yeah, but this is the thing that cracks me up about the NFL, and especially NFL broadcasters and analysts and all that.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said about Russell Wilson.
Yes.
So, other than one receiver in Neighbors, what does New York have, and why did they think that it's all Russell Wilson's fault and that Jackson Dart is going to do any better? They don't have an offensive line to speak of. And, yeah, Russell Wilson is not the quarterback he was in Seattle. That much is said then. But why do you think Jackson Dart is suddenly going to do any better? And where I'm going with this is you look at Baker Mayfield. He gets drafted to the Browns. Yes, he leads them to the playoffs. But when all of a sudden he doesn't have the weapons that he once did, and the Browns are drafting defensively and not drafting to protect their franchise quarterback, and he, his game suffers as a result, and all NFL analysts were saying, oh, he's done, he's not going to amount to anything. Look what he's doing in Tampa. Look at what the quarterback in Seattle, Sam Darnold. He went to the Jets. Didn't amount to anything in the Jets. But the Jets, no weapons, no offensive line. You put him into a talented team like Minnesota, and suddenly he's among the best quarterbacks in the league. You put him in Seattle, and he hasn't skipped a beat. He's leading the Seattle Seahawks now.
Yep.
So to me, I get so fed up with them talking about, oh, this quarterback's done, this quarterback's this, that, or the other. And these quarterbacks prove them wrong because you put a quarterback in the right system.
Yep.
And then they succeed. Injuries, I think this year this has been the year of, you got Jaden Daniels, Burrow is out.
Burrow in Cincinnati has killed the Bengals.
Right.
At this point, it's just horrible.
Jaden Daniels is out. You've got the speedster with Kansas City, the receiver, is going to be out. But thankfully, it's not season ending. But this has just been the year of people getting hurt right off the bat, especially key players. But it's been interesting. Obviously, we knew Buffalo was going to be for real. But, like Philadelphia, I'm not, even though they're still undefeated, I'm not impressed with them.
Nope.
Because their
defense
is not the stalwart defense that it was last year. Baltimore, everyone was saying, oh, Baltimore's going to be right there. No.
I don't see it.
Their defense is not as good as I think people predicted. And, if they're right now, they face, now granted, that game, well, Baltimore lost the game against the Bills. There's just no other way to say it. They had the game won, and they lost it because they weren't executing. They come back the next week, and they beat a team that they should have beat. Yeah, they beat the Jets. No big deal. But then week 3, they faced the Detroit Lions, and Detroit just made them look bad. Washington, I thought, was going to be a better team. Now, granted, the Jaden Daniels injury hurt them, but they haven't been that impressive. Like the NFC East, it's still going to run through Philly, but, I think that's only because unless Washington makes a bounce back, I just don't see, and their top receivers also hurt. So, that's hurting them as well.
What is the situation in Washington? I saw that that wasn't one of our games on Sunday. They beat the Raiders handily under Marcus Mariota. I've not seen the injury report on Jaden Daniels. What is the prognosis for his return?
I think he's going to be back I think they said 2 to 3 weeks is what they said.
Okay. And then Dan Quinn himself got wiped out on the sideline by somebody. He got wiped out on the sideline on Sunday during a play.
Yeah.
The coach.
Yeah. I'll never fault that because it's, So what they're saying with Daniels is they're listing it day to day. He's got a knee sprain, but they're not expecting him to play next week. So they're 2 to 3 weeks is the time frame in which they're saying.
And the Bengals obviously done. Browning. I listened to that game going home on Sunday from work, Chris. They were out of it from the start. They had no chance. Browning threw a pick six, first quarter, done. The points piled up. So can we project at this point? You got Miami underachieving under McDaniel as their coach. How do you see the coaching carousel right now? Do we expect McDaniel to go in 2 weeks for Miami? Probably 2-week watch?
Potentially. Yeah, but I don't. That's one of those I don't really understand. I think that's more of a GM issue than it is a coaching issue. Because when I look at Miami, you've got an aging, I wouldn't say old, but you have an aging receiving core. Because, Waddle and Tyreek Hill are not young anymore. You've got Tua, who you don't know you've never really known what you're going to get with.
No, you don't. You don't.
He's another one of those guys who likes to run, but he's not an accurate passer like he was at Alabama.
Certainly
when he's on. But again, you have. I don't see anything on that team that tells me, hey, that's a Super Bowl contending team.
No,
I just don't see it with Miami. So to me, I think you start with the general manager because at least the players seem to respect him as a coach. So I think if the GM were to make smarter decisions either through the draft or through free agency, the Dolphins might be more viable. And that's not a reflection of the head coach. That's the general manager's job. So, I don't see the head coach issue at Miami being the issue. I see the general manager being more the issue.
As I see coaches right now, I think Miami's coach, give the 3-week warning, you're probably gone. Zach Taylor, will the Brown family put up with another season of their starting quarterback being down? Joe Burrow, large contract, often injured. Don't expect a turf toe to sideline a guy for the season, but apparently in Joe Burrow's case, it does. So the question being, is Zach Taylor out the door in Cincinnati? They're 2-1 right now, fading fast. Destroyed by Minnesota on Sunday as Browning exposed. Pick 6. In the first half, it goes downhill from there. Is Zach Taylor under fire watch, Chris, for the next few weeks? Is he under the fire watch?
More than likely, because again, head coaches are the ones that are always going to get blamed.
Yep.
But again, I think that's a GM issue. You spend all that money on keeping your receiving core and giving Burrow the money, but look what you've got. You don't have an offensive line.
You have none. No offensive line to work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's a reason why Burrow is often injured. It's because he's running for his life most of the time. He takes too many sacks. I think he's been the most sacked quarterback in the last 3 seasons.
That's correct.
So there's a reason. And if it's the head coach is not the one pulling the strings on free agent and drafts. So to me, it's you have a net general manager. And Zach Taylor's working with the best with what he's got.
Yep.
But again, I think, it's easy to put the blame on, like I said earlier, it's easy to put the blame on the starting quarterback. It's easy to blame the head coach. But if you look at teams like Cincinnati, they spent all this money signing. Yeah, granted, they are 2 of the best receivers in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Burrow, who can be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But are they worth all that money when it's going to mean sacrificing the quality of your offensive line? You don't really have a strong defense outside of Trey Hendrickson.
Yep.
So a head coach can only do so much with what he's got. And that's where I see a lot of head coaches, because they have an inept general manager. Or in the case in Dallas, you have an inept owner who has a God complex.
Let's concentrate on Dallas, Chris Pratt, for a second. This has been the problem every year with the Dallas Cowboys. You go to Chicago, you get your lunch handed to you. Let's get down to the basics. Dak Prescott. This is the problem. And Jerry Jones has got the problem at this point. Why is Dak Prescott still your quarterback moving this team forward? Why is that the case?
Because in the years leading up to this season, he is a very good regular season quarterback.
Yes, he is.
But when it comes time for games that matter, he fails to show up. And so you're basing it off of, well, look, he was third or fourth in voting of the MVP that one year where he threw for over 4,000 yards. Throws for a lot of touchdowns. Okay, that's great. But the last time I checked, the goal of any professional athlete and the goal of every professional sporting team is to make the playoffs and make a run at the championship in whatever sport that is. And maybe we're getting into the age of the participation trophy athlete. Because to me, I wouldn't have given Dak Prescott all that money. I would have said, what have you done in the playoffs? Has he won? I think he's won one playoff game. If that.
He's done nothing.
Right. He gets embarrassed in the playoffs.
He gets embarrassed in the first round of the playoffs, and then we start again. We
Right.
start again every year. It's getting to be a broken record with Jerry Jones in Dallas. At what point do you say this man is not my franchise quarterback? We need to we need to draft and start over.
Well, I think everyone else is saying that except the only one that can make that decision, and that's Jerry Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Jones, and I don't know if this is his ego or what the problem is, but he sticks with players far longer than what he should.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give him credit. He doesn't give up. He's not one of those. He's not a fly-by-night who, okay, you didn't do anything for me in 1 year, so I'm just going to give up on you. Because again, it's a team effort. A starting quarterback, and I don't care if you have Peyton Manning, Johnny Unitas, Bart Starr, doesn't matter who you have. If you don't have an offensive line, that quarterback's only going to do so much. But that hasn't been the problem in Dallas because they've always had one of the best offensive lines in football. He's got people to throw to. He's got CeeDee Lamb. Now he's got George Pickens, although I think Pickens is one of the biggest head cases in all of football.
Mm-hmm.
But then he hasn't had a run game. They've had an elite defense. But injuries have nagged at that elite defense. But Dallas, as far as being a playoff caliber team, except for the last couple of years, yeah, they were when they were winning their division, the NFC East. They were winning their division because they were the most complete team there. But there's a difference in a complete team that then assumes the challenge of the playoffs and one that shies away from it. Dallas shies away from it for whatever reason. And I just think that there's those quarterbacks, and that's why everybody was so high on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, ice in his veins. A moment never gets too big for him.
The second season, I will never forget it, Chris. Their second season, Burrow gets them to the Super Bowl. I'm on the way home from the youth hockey in Chicago. They're playing the LA Rams. They're about at the 50-yard line. They're facing a 4th and 1. And Zach Taylor elects to push Burrow into a shotgun formation. What? You're going to be 4th and 1, basically 4th and 5 in shotgun. They don't make it. Game over. They're stopped, and the Rams, win the game. That was the last time they were competitive at this point. Chris, I'm going to change it up just a little bit on you. Green Bay beaten by Cleveland on Sunday. Their stock suddenly dropped. They dropped a 13-10 decision. Offense not moving the ball against Cleveland. I consider that a serious issue. I listened to 101 this morning or this afternoon on the way home. LA Chargers, one of their top teams.
Yeah.
How's Chris Pratt? How's the Star-Lord look at the top 3 teams right now in the NFL, sir?
I would say the top 3 teams, Buffalo, Detroit, and I would go San Diego.
LA Chargers.
LA
Chargers.
LA Chargers.
Three teams. Okay. I can go with it. Yeah.
I think the ones that are sitting, on the cusp. I'm not sleeping on the Niners. I think the Niners vastly improved. The Colts, I know that they're fun to watch. I don't know if they're quite there.
The Colts. Again, what about this team?
Well, it goes to show. Daniel Jones, everybody thought he was washed up. He wasn't going to amount to anything. You put the quarterback in a team that has a supporting cast. Because, let's face it. The Giants have been irrelevant for a long time. Since Eli Manning. Let's call it what it is. They've been irrelevant since Eli Manning. When you have no offensive line, it doesn't matter who you have as your quarterback. They're not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So Daniel Jones gets ripped up. Then the Colts are upset when Anthony Richardson is going to be the backup. And all Daniel Jones has done is go out there and win.
Mm-hmm.
Got a good defense. That's a good team. I don't know if they're quite at that, elite level. They're definitely one of the most improved teams from last year. Because you have a quarterback that's Richardson, you never knew where the ball was going to end up once he threw it. I just think he needs more time to develop. And Daniel Jones, he's not going to light anything on fire, but he's not going to make a lot of mistakes. He's going to be that, okay, I'm going to see what they're giving me. I'm not going to, force things. I'm not going to, if the play's not there, okay, I'm going to go down my, my audibles. I'm going to go down my, go to my options and everything else. I'm not saying that he's on the level of a Josh Allen or the elite quarterbacks of the league. But I think, again, you have a quarterback that was not in a team that was going to work for him. And he's showing that why he was drafted to begin. I would say Tampa Bay is also one of those teams to really look out for. That's been a playoff team the last couple of years. And you can see that right now, Baker Mayfield is playing with a huge chip on his shoulder. And he is willing that team to win. And Baker is one of those guys that I liked him from the day he came out of college because he didn't come out and he wasn't an egotist. He wasn't saying that I'm the greatest thing to ever come on. He was very quiet, and all he wanted to do was go out there and win. Cleveland gave up on him. Cleveland's mistake. He goes to Tampa, and the proof is there. He's led that team to 2 straight playoff years, and he's got them undefeated so far this year. And he has won the respect of his teammates, and you've got a team that they'll do anything for the guy. But it's also returned because you see what Baker is doing for that team. So, I mean, this is where I just think so many pro analysts have their head up their rear ends when they talk about quarterbacks because it's evident. They think that the quarterback is going to be able to take a team that is a 1 to 2 win team and suddenly they're going to be a playoff caliber team. And that's not how it works. That's why I was so confused when everyone was saying, Shedeur Sanders is going to turn Cleveland around. There's been more talented quarterbacks drafted than Shedeur Sanders, and they couldn't get the job done. So what makes you think that just because the guy's last name is Sanders, that he's going to be able to do it? It's just amazing to me that they talk so much, and it's just what they talk. It's just they're just making noise, in my opinion. That you have to look at the complete team picture, and the first thing I look at is, okay, what's the offensive line look like? And if the offensive line doesn't have anybody that is telling me, okay, yeah, they're going to give him protection, then yeah, that quarterback's going to suffer because of it.
I want to kind of switch up things with your top 3 teams right now, and I'm pretty much on the same page with you. A lot of disappointments. A shocker in New York today with Russell Wilson being benched at this point. I honestly, Chris, I think Russell Wilson needs to think retirement. I think he needs to think retirement. He's got a model girlfriend that has good money coming in. I think he needs to think about retiring at this point. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, his best days are behind him. I mean, that much.
Best days are behind him.
He's never. I don't see him getting back to the level of where he was when he was an All-Pro.
No.
When he was an MVP. He was in the discussion for MVP when he was in Seattle. I don't see him ever getting to that. And Wilson strikes me as one of those guys. He has the will to still play. He has the desire to play, and he wants to go out there and win. The problem is that I don't see him ever getting a chance on a team that's going to give him those opportunities. And the football Giants, if he had been able to do well in Pittsburgh, and I mean, let's say he didn't do bad in Pittsburgh, but he didn't do anything that was people were looking at him going like, yeah, Russell Wilson's back. And that's the problem is no teams are going to give him that opportunity because he hasn't been playing up to that level. And he doesn't have the reputation of an Aaron Rodgers who can have down years and people are still going to take a chance on an Aaron Rodgers because of what he's done. I would agree with you. I think Wilson, if he's not going to get back to the level that he wants to be at, and I would hope that he's invested his money wisely and that he doesn't have to, continue to play for his lifestyle. Yeah, you're young enough. You haven't had that debilitating injury. Yeah, call it a day. And you look at his career. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been an All-Pro. he has had a very good career. Do I think it's a Hall of Fame career? No, because I don't think
I don't either.
No, he's not up there in the passing yards and touchdowns, in my opinion. He's without, and especially without an MVP, I don't think that gets him there, because there's been a lot of quarterbacks who have won a Super Bowl that aren't going to be considered for a Hall of Fame.
I do think his wife, being a model, I do think he can live on what she's making right now. He's going to be able to live on what he's being paid for quite a long time. But I think that his wife, as a model, is also making the buku bucks. I don't think Russell Wilson has anything left to prove at this point.
No, I would agree.
Get out, make your, live on your wife's coattails, so to speak. If you can make it as an analyst, whether it be on Fox, CBS, whatever the case may be, it's over.
Yeah.
Cut your losses and move on at this point. So we've got the NFL covered, we've got college football covered. Chris, I want to make a comment about last week WNBA. What's the Fever win over Atlanta Dream? What's the Fever win? They were down in the fourth quarter. They somehow found a way, missing 4 superstars, to come back, beat Atlanta by 1 point. They have a lead right now in the second round of the WNBA semifinals against Vegas. Dominated the Aces on Sunday afternoon. Chris Pratt, without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without their superstars, they're finding a way to put it together. I think they're legit to possibly win the title at this point. Their coach, is making a difference. I'm putting you at a disadvantage, and I apologize. I'm putting you at a disadvantage. But I think that the Indiana Fever have got at what it takes at this point to get to the finals. They look pretty strong at this point, missing all of their superstars. It's an incredible story.
Well, what I would say to that, and I will first say this by saying that my knowledge of the WNBA is primarily off of headlines. I've yet to watch a game. I don't feel compelled to watch a game, especially with the whining out of all the players, such as Angel Reese and all these other players. But this holds true in all of sports. If you become reliant on 1 or 2 superstars to win games for you, if those superstars are not having the game, or let's say that they're dealing with a nagging injury, or they're just not playing up to their potential, team's most likely going to lose because they don't know how to play as a team. Whereas if you have no superstars on the team and you're getting all of the players that are currently eligible to play and able to play, and they're playing as a team is always going to be more dangerous than a 1 or 2 superstars and a bunch of role players. Look at the Lakers, for example. Why do you think LeBron and Luka can't get it done? Because they don't have a team around them. You've got 2 superstars and a bunch of people who just come in and play.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what is going on here. Is you have the Indiana Fever that have been reliant on Caitlin Clark and the other superstars that they have. Suddenly you find yourself without them. So what do you have? What do you do? Well, you find a way to win by playing as a team. You spread the ball around the court and you get participation from everybody. So that way you're not reliant on that one player who, like I said, if they have a down night, that's where teams lose, because they live and die by their superstars.
The Fever have been led by Lexi Mills at this point. She has been absolutely incredible. They play Vegas later on tonight. Whether or not I stay up for that game, I have no idea at this point. But they do have a 1-0 lead. They won the first game pretty easily by 16, 18 points. I noticed the New York Liberty, despite winning the championship last year, they fired their coach today. It is a short-lived stay in the WNBA. If you're a coach, I noticed Atlanta Dream, also their coach was fired, not being able to get past the first round against the Indiana Fever in the WNBA. It is a short-lived career unless you can find your niche.
No, but that can be said of all sports. I mean,
Yep.
It's again, unlike LeBron, who suddenly has flipped his switch and says it's not about championships. It's all about championships. That's why you play every year. And so, yeah, if a coach, coaches are either going to be unfairly viewed for the performance of their team, or it means they're getting fired because the team has lost respect and will not play for that individual. And let's be honest, we live in an era where athletes are babied and not held accountable. And so a lot of coaches simply get fired because they want to hold their players accountable. The players then go and complain to the GM and the owner, and then the head coach is out because the players are always going to be sided with instead of the coaches. And that's what's wrong with sports. You have Angel Reese, who goes out there and makes any unintelligent comment she can make. When she fails to just grasp the simple concept that, look, WNBA players are making what they make because the league is running in the red every year. They're not turning over a profit. If the league as a whole is not turning over a profit, how do you expect to get more money? Maybe, and I'm not saying that their product is bad. I've never watched a game. I can't say what the quality of the product is. But what I can say is, if they want to be played on the same level as NBA players, then find a way to put more butts in seats. It's just that simple. I can't criticize the WNBA players on the talent level or the product they put out because I never watched a game. I'm not going to pretend to be knowledgeable on a subject that I've never watched. But it's just a simple dollars and cents. That's what it comes down to. Rather than complain and make whiny comments about not the pay disparity between what you make and what the NBA players make. I mean,
Chris, I was going to not to cut you off. I was going to say that the average WNBA player brings home about $65,000 a year. In Caitlin Clark's case, she's got tennis shoe deals, sneaker deals that bring in millions of dollars. But her base salary is like $65,000. Lexi Hull, very tall, 6'1", 6'2", player for the Fever. She's been their MVP here in the last all season, basically taking over as Clark and Sophie Cunningham have injuries. They are riding the bench, but Lexi Hull has taken it over. I will tell you that in the playoff series against Atlanta, they took it over. Late in the game, they took a 1-point lead. Atlanta could not make the final shot to move on. Indiana took it. Stephanie White has taken the Indiana Fever to that series matchup with Las Vegas. Honestly, sir, I probably won't be able to stay up to watch that second game take place, but Lexi Hull at her 6'1", 6'2", has taken the Indiana Fever to the next level. I can't say they're going to win a championship, but they are certainly extremely competitive right now. I do agree with everything you have to say. Attendance needs to pick up, but Caitlin Clark will be back next season. She's dealt with the groin injury all year. She said, I can't go. I just can't go at this point, but others have stepped up. We're just going to have to see what happens. But can you imagine the Liberty win the championship last year? They get taken out in the first round, and the coach is gone. I guess that's the way it works.
Yeah, it's living to what the expectation is.
Yeah.
And if you don't get the expectation, it's, someone's always going to be the scapegoat.
Yep.
And again, it's rarely the players. It's always going to be the coaching staff, even when it's not the coaching staff. You have, again, if you have superstars that underperform, that's on the superstars. That's not on the coach.
Yep.
That's the superstars not living up to their potential. But the superstars are what generate the interest and the revenue for the team. So to me, it's one of those things in sports that it's unfortunate that players are not held accountable, especially when they don't live up to the expectations. But that's the world we live in. It's no longer about, the team as a whole. It's about certain players. And again, LeBron is a perfect example of that. He can have, disappear in the playoffs, but it's the coaching staff's fault that the team didn't advance. It's not LeBron's fault.
I would certainly imagine, Chris, that down the road, 3 years from now, LeBron James is going to retire from the NBA, bring in a few other owners, and get Las Vegas up on the NBA team new ownership list. Get Las Vegas going. At this point, I'm like you. I don't pay a lot of attention to the NBA. We don't talk about the NBA because I'm kind of got the same feeling you've got. These are a bunch of overpaid players that play their own style of basketball. Traveling is irrelevant in the NBA. Unless you're taking 8 steps toward the basket, then they might call it at that point. But the players understand it is a power game. They take as many steps as necessary to get the job done. NBA referees understand the NBA, how it's played, the rules, involved with things. But I would fully expect that LeBron James will leave the NBA probably 2 or 3 years from now and try to get that NBA team started in Las Vegas. My friend, we have hit. We are at 1 hour 11 minutes, making up for what we lost the last 3 weeks with our folks. Folks, I apologize on this end. It was mixture issues. The mixture went out on me a couple weeks ago. I apologize for that. I've had to order another one. I've had to tweak this other mixture. Not used to it as far as the first mixture that I bought is concerned. I get about 6 or 7 months, Chris, out of the first mixture. This one has been a challenge to deal with at this point. I feel like we've got a pretty good podcast for tonight. Let me explain again 2 of the things. Caps are in right now. They're $30 for the caps. I will post those on the Facebook page if you'd like to have one for the podcast of Mr.Jim program. They're $30. Chris, I'll pick up the shipping on those caps if you'd like to have one. Still some t-shirts left, plenty of t-shirts, mostly extra large and 2X that are available at this point. They're going to be $40, and I'll pick up the shipping on those. So the $40 for the t-shirts, $30 for the caps. Again, we are sponsored tonight by Prepcast. Watch now or watch later. My thanks to my boss, Prepcast.com, Tim Miller. Watch now, watch later. You go on that website, whatever high school team, college team you want to watch, you can watch them at any time. Anytime. Doesn't have to be the night of the game. Anytime. We archive whatever we've got on Prepcast.com. It's Prepcast.com. Also,
That's not the issue. What's going on here? Sorry,
we've
I'm not able to hear you for some reason.
No, it's okay. We've run a long time at this point. I also want to thank Ms. Kim Hamilton over at offthehookembroidery.com. We're at more than an hour here with you all, making up for lost time, so to speak. I apologize for the equipment issues. Hopefully, real quick, Chris, I have the communications of Mr. Jim. Second Monday in October, I've got a woman that will be explaining to us the simple fact customer service in the telecommunications industry. She's with an undisclosed technology company. She's going to talk to us about customer service in the telecommunications company as the Conversations of Mr. Jim returns the second week in October. I appreciate the sponsorship of Prepcast.com. Any final thoughts, Chris, before we wrap things up?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. Like I said,
I do.
It's college football is wait to see the upsets that are going to be, and then continue watching the We'll have the baseball playoffs here soon. The NFL season is early on. Hockey is going to resume within a couple of weeks. Baseball playoffs are going to be intriguing because, you've got some teams that probably weren't expected to be there. Like the Mariners, for example. I don't know how many people thought that they were going to be there. With the losses that the Brewers suffered, I didn't expect them to be there. I thought the Cubs were going to be the team in the National League Central, especially with the way they started earlier. But, baseball playoffs are going to be intriguing. I don't think that the Dodgers are going to repeat. I think the Dodgers are having some issues. Not exactly sure what they are, but they're just not that dominant team that we would expect. So
Can the Brewers win the World Series, Chris? Can the Brewers take it to the World Series?
I don't think so.
I
don't see that their lineup isn't. Well, they're good. I mean, obviously, they're a 94-win team. But I think when faced with, if they make the World Series, I would question, do they have enough to get past, the American League counterpart? And I just don't know. I don't see that they've got. It's unpredictable, but if I'm looking on paper, I think the Brewers took advantage of the fact that it was a 2-team race basically for the NL Central, them and the Cubs. The rest of the teams were struggling to stay over 500. So I think they took advantage of being in a weak division. They are a talented team, but they don't have that MVP caliber player. They don't have a Cy Young caliber pitcher. And without, like I said, that's a team that's playing as a complete team. So I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I just don't see them getting over the hump of the teams that have the superstars on them.
So we go to the AL. AL team takes the World Series this year. Who's your favorite to win the World Series?
With all, and this is going to be funny me saying this.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays are that team that I don't know if people have really taken seriously, because all eyes have been on, they've been on New York, obviously the Yankees. They've been on Houston. Both of those teams have struggled. The Yankees are in. The Houston's wait and see, I think. I don't think they've clinched because Seattle's been giving them a run. But Toronto, you look at that lineup, and I don't know. I mean, Toronto to me is that dangerous team that if I'm facing them, I'm not. That's a team that would scare me. I think with the Yankees, you have to be concerned about Judge, but yes, that's a very good team. But I think if you get around Judge, I don't see anyone picking up where, if let's say you make Judge a non-factor, is there anybody on that roster that can make up for his offensive production in a series, and especially a 7-game series? Seattle's got the pitching. Seattle's got a good offense. Can they sustain it? Because that's a relatively young team that hasn't been there before. I'm going to go with Toronto, but I think the American League is just so wide open right now because it's just, who knows? I mean, the American League intrigues me a lot. I think the National League comes down to the West. Because I'm trying to think who in the Phillies. I mean, I think the Phillies are a very good team, and I hate saying it because I'm not a fan of the Phillies. But I think the Phillies are probably the most complete team in the NL. And again, with the Dodgers scuffling, and I don't think San Diego has got enough to get over the hump. I'm thinking it's Philly against Toronto. And that's a bold prediction. But
I like that analysis. We hit a lot, Chris Pratt. Again, I want to apologize to everybody. We had a few weeks off here on my end with the equipment issues. I think we're going to be okay tonight. I'm going to throw this over to Facebook and hopefully on the YouTube here in the next few days. I did not have a Prepcast announcer tonight. I didn't really try it all that hard. They are busy right now with things, Chris. I'm going to try after tonight to get a hold of a Prepcast announcer, see if they can join us maybe next Tuesday night. I really appreciate your participation tonight. Again, my apologies. We have had equipment issues. I think that has been rectified for tonight. I appreciate our sponsors with Prepcast.com and Mr. Kim Hamilton and Off the Hook Embroidery. We are going to wrap this up. We've gone much longer than I expected to, trying to make up for lost time, everybody. We come your way Tuesday nights at 7:30 with Sports Talk. And again, I'm going to bring the conversations back, Chris. The second Monday in October, we're going to talk about customer service in the telecommunications industries on Monday night, the second week in October at 7 o'clock. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. This has been Sports Talk with Mr. Jim and the Star Lord, Chris Pratt. For both of us, this is Mr. Jim signing off, and we will see you next Tuesday night, same time at 7:30. Have a great night, everybody. This has been Sports Talk with Mr. Jim.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, buddy. That should be good. That should